Welcome to my real estate show. We've got a little bit of news to go over. We like to do something different every time. A second MLS has decided to join the fight and cut off their Zillow feed. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. Texas Brokerage just walked away from real brokerage after just 1 year. They kept their agents and the brand, and they are publicly telling people why. We'll also go over a couple of celebrity real estate news, gossip columns, and then just a funny little reel that I found about the old school Spencer Pratt that I thought it'd be fun to talk about, old versus new. So that's what we've got going on this show. Pull up a chair. So before we get into it, I am doing this backwards. These are our opinions, not my real estate shows, not my real estate companies, not any entity connected to either. Just mine, Sandi Lyn Burnett's, just Josh Reese's, just producer Brian's. Now, let's go. Let's talk about the first thing, Brian. Do you have the reel ready to go? I thought that might be kind of fun to start with. And welcome, Debbie Does Dallas Real Estate. Thanks for tuning in. So this is old school Spencer. Let's watch.
Welcome to the show. Now, we've had two other of your friends from the program. I think Heidi, right, was here last time?
Love of my life.
Yeah, and who was here? Who was the first one? Remember the other? What's the other
What's her
woman's
name? What's her name? She's on our show.
Right.
What's her name?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I always forget. No, I just remember Heidi. I love Heidi.
Who am I thinking of? Lauren. That's what I'm thinking of. Lauren.
LC.
Yeah.
I always forget about her.
Now, now on the show, you're a dope. Are you really in real life? It seems like you're the one causing a lot of the trouble. Am I right about that? Is that perception accurate?
Yes, it is.
And how did you join the show? How did that begin?
Well, it was about 3 years ago. I was watching TV, flicking through the channels, and I come onto the hills, and I was like, yeah, this show's good. A little boring, a little quiet. But they were going to all the spots that my best friend Brody and I were going to. I was
Brody
like,
Jenner.
Correct. So we're watching the show, and we're just like, we need to go get on this show and stir it up, make this a little more entertaining.
Now, how do you do that? Because I'm sure you're not the first person to whom that has occurred. I'd like to be on that show. So how do you actually make that happen?
Went about it trying to get a lovely lady to date on the show. And,
Really?
Yeah, it worked out and ended up falling in love with Heidi. That wasn't the game plan.
Engagement is off. Is that correct?
Actually, she's ready to say yes.
She's ready to say yes, yeah. Now, have you asked her to marry you again?
I got to get a ring that's like that big, so.
Yeah. And
it's going to be a while. I got to go to South Africa and mine it myself.
There you go.
So did you ever watch The Hills or anything, Josh?
I cannot say that I did.
What do you think about old Spencer Pratt?
So here's what's interesting. He even back then had a way, obviously, of capturing people's attention. And I didn't know the backstory until right now, and I don't even know if that's true. But the fact that he saw something on TV and said, I think I can get on there, and then made it happen, is pretty impressive. But it tells me that he has a knack for capturing people's attention, and he can play the part. Obviously, you said, he was more the villain on that show. Somebody who can do that, they're very, 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 very intelligent, and I think socially intelligent. And so it doesn't surprise me to see the transition to politics and what he's doing right now with his campaign.
Something really stuck out for me in his whole shtick, and that was he said, I'm in it for the long game.
Yeah.
And even if he thought he was just going to be in showbiz in his career, you can tell he is a patient man. And he's sitting back watching everybody unravel themselves. And he knows how to troll. He was a real life troll before you could really like before we thought about internet trolling. He just would walk into a group and fucking like get people to hate each other, you
Yeah.
know? And that's what he did. He ruined in the show, he ruined Elsie and Heidi's friendship. So that's why he was like, "Oh, who's the other girl?" Well, the other girl was the star of the show. And yeah, he walked in, started dating Heidi, and I think it was like, yeah, the second season or whatever. And then Lauren's like, "He's getting in the middle of us." And then, yeah, Heidi's like, "Well, I'm moving out. I'm moving in with Spencer." And they basically never talked again. So it was pretty interesting because, there is a level of that was like produced reality TV. It was a lot less real. It's almost like you could probably see that they were like, "I want you to do this scene again, but like sadder or whatever." You could tell it was produced, but it was actually shit that happened.
It doesn't surprise me to see that and see how he commands attention, even in that interview. The way he picks his words, the things that he says to get Letterman to, react.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal, especially for someone at his age. At that time of that interview, he had to be what, early 20s?
Yeah.
And to be able to command attention at that level at that age is pretty spectacular.
Think about it this way. Like Letterman thought he was going to have one on him and was like, "Oh, I had two of your co-stars on here." And he's like, "Oh yeah, Heidi, the love of my life." And he's like, "Well, what about the other one?" And he's like, "Who?" Well, obviously Letterman couldn't remember, but he wasn't expecting him to be like, "No, you say her name." And he's like, "Oh, who are we talking about?" Which
Yeah.
made it worse. Could you imagine if she's watching it and she's like, "I'm the fucking star of the show. I was just on his show," he said, "and he can't even remember my name." I just thought that that was a cool, especially for people that don't necessarily, "What's the big deal about this guy?" or whatever. "Why is he so controversial?" So, yeah, I thought that was cool. All right, let's go over a couple of gossipy news articles that I found. They are on page 6, so very reliable news source. Any order, Brian, is fine. Okay, can you zoom in a little? So Kate Middleton and Prince William, they decided that they were gonna get a new home, after her battle with cancer. And she apparently, like, their new home involves forcing some other people out of their homes. So I just find it fascinating when people like there is a whole I didn't realize this until I looked, but there's a whole page 6 like real estate section. So just go to the next. We're gonna go like through these really quickly.
That's rich people problems right there.
Mhm.
When you're just like, I want your house, so you're gonna have to move.
Exactly. Bethenny Frankel, so she's a previous Real Housewife, that's not her. But she's a former Real Housewife that is her, and she is one of the smartest Real Housewives in the entire franchise. She collected only $7,000 from her first season, but said, "Any deals, any brand deals that I get, I want to keep all the money from." So all these other housewives, they were poor. They broke, fucking broke. They wanted more money up front. So they offered a percentage on any brand deals that they'd come up with. So she's always been smart with money. She's the one that like back in the day, she made Skinny Margarita, all this other stuff. So yeah, I just think it's interesting. She doesn't really buy real estate for somebody to be dazzled. She buys it for the return and she's very unapologetic about it. Okay. And then this one is reality stars Tom Sandoval and Ariana Madix. So it's called Scandoval. These two were in a relationship, but like a long term committed relationship. They bought a house together. They had a strong friend group on the show Vanderpump Rules. And in the last season of the show, it came out at the very end of the show that Tom was banging Ariana's best friend. And the best friend was totally a part of the show and everything. And it goes through the entire season. It's a fucking reality show. It goes through the entire season. It's showing Ariana like confide her minor relationship issues. She's just like, oh, things are a little boring right now. And then the friend is like, yeah, but like, are you even attracted to him? And she's like, oh my God, I think he's so hot. Like, it's just I have a hard time connecting with him. So it's like diabolical the way that they fucking edited this show and then put it out there. So this chick was ruthless in the way that she scorched the earth. For me, I'm like, they weren't married. Like, shit happens in, California. You're gonna have all kinds of stuff thrown at you. But she went full scorched earth on this guy, like ruined his fucking career, made sure nobody, would visit his bars and stuff. Like, everybody had to pick a side, Team Ariana. She got cast on Love Island as the host. She got cast with Dancing with the Stars. Like, it elevated her career. She took that to the nth degree. So I find it really interesting because buying that home was huge. She really wanted to own property. And so it's just kind of like a chapter closed or whatever. And then I want to briefly touch on 2 more talking points. Brian, what was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, the second MLS feed, cutting off their feed. All right. So it's interesting that they did this after seeing that MRED got a temporary restraining order, right? And so I just wanted like everybody to be aware of that. A judge already shot down MRED doing it, but I wonder if it was like an Illinois judge, because if it's an Illinois judge, they're gonna do like whatever somebody that whines the most wants. And Zillow was pretty good at whining. And then the last topic I want to cover before we get to something more serious is the Texas brokerage leaving. Do you happen to have an article or anything? Spyglass Realty walks away from Real after 1 year, cuts $10,000 a month, builds its own AI stack. Austin-based Spyglass Realty has become an independent brokerage again after 1 year inside the Real Brokerage's private label program. Founder Ryan Rodenbach told Lillian Dickerson at Real Estate News he built out his own tech stack with AI assistants, cutting nearly $10,000 a month from his firm's expenses, and is now in major growth mode with a goal of adding 100 agents on top of the nearly 200 already on the roster. Spyglass had grown its agent count 50% during its 1 year at Real, where it was the number 6 mega team in the entire company. He did publicly thank Real, said he was genuinely grateful for the experience, and then walked. I think that that's kind of interesting that Real lost 200 agents on their roster just like that.
Yeah, this guy didn't get the memo. You're supposed to be acquiring people, not taking it apart. We're in the acquisition phase of real estate right now, where we're acquiring agents, and he decided he's going to take his ball and go elsewhere.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. And how these brokerages are set up is if they lose agents like that, I mean, it is a severe kick to the nuts. So that sucks for them. It's a sad day for them. So, now I didn't announce this topic like at the top of it because I wanted to like lead into it and have, usually I'm the one announcing topics. I want Josh to basically talk about this topic. We're going to make the rest of this episode about Josh and about some things that agents don't realize they have to face, and then how do they even navigate it once they do have to face it. So Josh, let's talk about your situation and what agents might be able to learn from it.
I think we talked about it yesterday, but the cat's out of the bag. Obviously I've been away from some shows, haven't been here.
Very selfishly, might I add.
What?
Very selfishly, might I add.
Selfishly, yes. I've left Sandi Lyn high and dry on multiple occasions. But part of it that we want to talk about is the reason why. And it's super relevant, I think, to agents. because in real estate, you're in this weird world where you are self-employed, you own your own business. For the most part, you're a 1099 contractor with a brokerage, and health issues and things like that are very difficult for agents because let's face it, it's harder to get health insurance as a real estate agent. And then, there's that whole stigma of, if you're going through something, do you make it public? Do you not make it public? The fear is if I make it public, my clients aren't going to come to me anymore when they're ready to do something because they don't want to bother me. It's a topic we want to talk about. It's a weird topic. But basically, for those of you that don't know, we started this show, was it about 3 months ago now?
Yeah, I think, 2 or 3 months.
2 or
1
3
month.
months. And so,
Was it only a month, Brian?
April 22nd was our first episode.
oh man, feels like longer. Part of that is because what I've got going on, everything
Mhm.
feels like a weird thing. But basically, right before we started this show, and if you guys go back and watch the very first episode, I think you'll realize I was a little off.
You won't see it. I cleverly cut around it so you don't look bad.
Okay.
But we still have the footage that
Yeah.
we are gonna save.
So right before the show started, I got diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. And it was one of those things that, as a entrepreneur and someone who owns a business, that was, a very tough thing because, I was like in that weird place of, do I tell people, I don't really want my clients to know. Fortunately, I'm in a position now as a broker that, my clients aren't as big of a deal as they were before. But ultimately, I decided I was going to be public with it, and talk about it. And part of it for me is, I'm 37 years old, and this is becoming a lot more common problem among younger people that we're just not talking about. And cancer diagnoses, especially early in life, are becoming a lot more common. I think part of that is we're just getting a lot better at detecting it, but we have younger people that are facing this. And so I made the decision that, I was going to be public with it. I'm not saying that's what, everybody should do. It's ultimately a personal choice. But part of it for me was, taking this opportunity to get some, more exposure to an issue that we're just not talking about. And part of it for me, fortunately, over the last couple of years, I've built up a decent social media platform, this show. So I have a little bit more pull now than I think I did before. And so I made the choice to be public about it. But that's kind of why I've been gone, most of the days I've been gone. It was 2 Mondays ago, I started my treatments officially. I'd been doing a bunch of stuff prior to that. I've given more blood work than I've ever wanted to over the last month. But I did finally officially start my treatments last Monday. And so, moving forward, there's some days I just won't be here, tomorrow being one of them. But you guys are in good hands with Sandi Lyn, and we've tried to schedule guests around those days too. So, you guys still get that, other opinions and multiple people talking. But it's been an interesting process. What I found is the support from my clients and my past clients has been huge. Um, it was one thing I didn't know how it would be received, but I have no doubt in my mind that after that, if they do need something, they're at least going to reach out to me first, and give me the option. And that's what I've told a lot of people too is, you know, I'm still working. I'm still here. If you need anything, reach out. If I can't do it, we'll figure out something else. I still, I'm still building my business. I'm still doing deals and all those type of things. And the reception has been really positive. I think, the other thing that I've found is, for the last 2 years, all my content has been real estate based for the most part. And now doing this, it's been kind of fun because it's a different topic. I am of the opinion that I'm going to laugh and make jokes about it because, at the end of the day, it's funny. Like, I made a reel about how I have ass cancer, and it was funny to me. Some people didn't like it, but at the same time, I was like, hey, I know
Did
how
you
these
get
social
hated
media.
about it?
I got a couple haters, yeah. Like, there were a couple people that said, I shouldn't be making fun of it. I shouldn't be taking it, with light and all that type of stuff. And I was like,
Excuse me, this
first,
is my cancer.
yeah,
Oh,
like I
however
can
I
decide
want.
what I'm going to call it. We've named
Mhm.
my tumor Timmy. So like, at the end of the day, I'm going to call it what I want to call it. But I think part of it for me was what I've learned in real estate about the social media platforms and gaining attention. I kind of figured out how, what gets people to watch and that type of stuff. And so it's been really cool. I've started new social media channels because I don't want to like do, the cancer content on my normal channels. Um, but it's been really cool to have an outlet that's a little different. The amount of support has been phenomenal. Yeah, there's a couple haters out there, but honestly, I would say I think probably got thousands of comments now on those. I have 5 videos up on that channel and it's blowing up. Um, I've had thousands of comments and probably 3 or 4 of them were negative.
Wow,
You
that's
know, the
great. I mean, and everybody's gonna have something negative to say on somebody's content. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, and that was the thing, like, ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't care what kind of content, you're gonna have trolls, you're gonna have haters. Um, but, getting your story out there, I think, is important. And, using your platform that you have in real estate to do other good things is also really important. And that was one thing for me that really kind of the first 2 weeks, I was a train wreck. Um, it was like shock, I think, was a big part of it. But what really pulled me out of that was kind of 2 things. First of all, getting back to my normal routine, doing the things that I did before. And, fortunately, my diagnosis, I'm not in pain. Um, I'm not really dealing with a lot of that type of stuff. So for me, it was, keeping your routine, making sure you make time to still go to the gym. Obviously, I can't lift and stuff like I used to, but still keeping that routine up. And then the second thing that really helped, and part of this was my wife, um, but she said, nothing has changed. Like the day before you got your diagnosis till now, nothing has changed. But, I was allowing that to dictate what I was doing and how I was acting. And the biggest part of that is I told myself, you know what, like, I don't know what the outcome is going to be for me on this. But if I can do something positive with people and, turn this into a positive thing, that's what I want to do. And so it's been interesting too, because through that process, I've started having people now reach out and be like, hey, I saw you on this other social media channel. Are you in real estate? And it's been bringing up conversations that go back to my business. So that's been one of the things that I didn't think was going to happen. But I think it really just goes to show you, like, if you're in real estate, do whatever you can to get in front of people. Use the things that, like, life might give you, those shitty things that happen, but it's your choice how you use them. And, I think that's my biggest thing. There's a ton of, agents right now that I've kind of got into this cancer community, and there's a lot of agents that are going through it. And it's interesting to see them. There's some of them that run their business and it actually makes their business explode. And there's others that just kind of, there's other agents that just shrink into the background. And I'm like, take those bad things in life and use them to your advantage. Like, obviously, it's not a good thing. You might, be struggling with something. We all have shit that happens in our lives, but, you can make the choice to figure out, how can I use this to be positive and help somebody else? And what I've found is, through that process, business is going to gain traction because it's all about attention and getting in front of people. And so it's just another way that you can provide value.
People wanna know how they relate to you. I think a really good skill that you have is, like, humanizing yourself in a world where everybody's like, "Oh my god, look at how perfect my life is, how beautiful my kitchen is, and I'm gonna, like, make this perfect meal," or whatever, right? And I think everybody's over that. So, when you're able to truly be yourself and say what's happening, that's a gift to make yourself vulnerable and open up in that manner. But I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I want you, because you guys, I've actually never actually been brave enough to ask him this before.
Wow.
So I want to know what actually was going through your head that very first episode.
Well,
Well,
okay.
let me set the scene for you guys, okay?
Yeah.
So, we had, a very special guest on, Beth Silverman, and she just came and she brought it, but here's the thing, I sent Josh a couple of her reels ahead of time because I was like, "Hey, this is the guest that we're interviewing, And in case she talked about it, I didn't want him to be thrown off. So I had assumed that Josh did his homework and watched her reels, and he didn't. So now we're caught up.
Well, and first of all, yeah. So my thought once again, this is our, like, to set the scene, this is our first episode. And if you guys have been watching us from the beginning, we've improved a lot. Like, even in that month, we've improved a lot. So this was our first episode, first of all.
And
I
the
have
same
never,
week that you got your diagnosis.
yeah, and it was literally like I got diagnosed on a Monday, and I think we recorded this episode on like a Wednesday or a Thursday. And so I purposely was like, first of all, I was not in a good mindset to begin with. I was, like I said, after the diagnosis, I was like down and out for 2 weeks, throwing myself a pity party, which wasn't right, but it is what it is. And so when Sandi Lyn sent me hey, these reels, do some research and stuff, I'm like, but I want to be surprised. I want to be on this podcast and not know, which was funny because I didn't, even think about this. And then literally like within 2 minutes into the podcast, she starts talking about how she's a cancer survivor, been through all these surgeries and everything. And I'm just like sitting there just like, what? And like, what do I say? I was at the point when I was like, I'm about ready to lose it on this podcast because like I wasn't expecting it mentally. I wasn't prepared for it. So it really was one of those things that I'm really glad I went through that situation, because that was kind of the start for me where I was like, wait a second, I'm now allowing my pity party to affect my quality of work that I'm doing. And that's not okay. Sandi Lyn
He
was,
had a deer in the fucking headlights look the entire episode. He was like,
yeah,
that's
like
how he just watched the episode, even though he was part of it.
and I watched it and the whole time my brain is just going. But it was a good experience. First of all, thank you, Sandi Lyn, for your being gracious about that. Was shitty. But she was very nice about it. But I also learned through that process, like, don't throw yourself a pity party, because ultimately it's going to affect your ability to provide value to people. And I sat there for 45 minutes. I could have probably, said some things, got some conversations going that could have benefited people. But because I was so, I think, in shock still, because, didn't do my homework. It was a really interesting time. But I think the biggest thing, like, to answer your question, what was going through my head, everything. And I think that's part of this that has been hard, is everything is slowed down a little bit now once I actually started getting treatment, which is good. But there was a month there where my mind was just racing nonstop and it was different doctor's appointments here and there. For context, I got diagnosed and I was starting treatment within a month, which is, in my opinion, unheard of. I've never heard of anybody else who's got a cancer diagnosis and been in the chemo chair within a month. But because of that month was crazy busy. I had imaging appointments. And so my first diagnosis, I had a colonoscopy, and that was how they discovered it, imaging. And then, like I said, blood work, I was doing labs. It seemed like every day for this doctor, that doctor. And then you have all your consults with all your medical team. And so that whole month, like, my mind was just not going nonstop, and constantly getting phone calls and, coordinating. And fortunately, I'm in a market where we have, good medical services. Like, we're not a super small town, but we've got decent stuff. So all my stuff has been local. Yeah, it was that episode was obviously the hardest episode I've ever filmed. But it was a good episode for me.
Everything happens exactly how it's supposed to. And it was really funny, you guys, because I actually, first of all, if you go and watch the episode right now, you'll see that Josh is almost cut completely out of the episode. Like, and again, Brian and I have this footage. And so, Brian, you're going to need to make sure to upload that as an unlisted link to YouTube so we never lose it. But you guys, it's just, if you could have seen, I'm trying to talk to Beth. I'm trying to be engaging and ask questions, and Josh is just staring. He's just staring. And It's crazy. So afterward, I left her, we voice message each other, we voice memo each other. And so I left her a voice memo and I said, listen, thank you so very much for being our first guest. I have to let you know that there's a reason I picked Josh as my co-host. I've never seen him that fucking quiet in my entire life. And also, this is why I'm guessing he was this quiet. Like, he was just diagnosed with cancer this week. I think there's a reason that you were our very first guest. And so I think everything, and just even with the show, I told Josh, I'm like, because it was right in time for, like, we're just kicking off the show. So it's like, hey, Josh, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, blah, blah, blah. And so he's just like, listen, this helps. So, and I said, there's going to be days that he's not going to be here. There will be days that he's just not feeling up to it. There will be days that he's in chemo or whatever. There will be days he's coughing his fucking head off.
Yeah. I think that's one thing too. Another really cool part of that episode is Beth actually reached out to me after it was over and we had a really good conversation. She gave me some really good tips, some resources and that type of stuff. So ultimately it was a great experience, but yeah, wasn't expecting it. Basically that whole episode, you don't see me at all. We do have the raw footage where I'm just deer in the headlights. We'll get through it. We'll figure out what happens. And, I want to be a resource. So if anybody out there is listening to this, obviously still a rookie. I don't even know what I'm doing yet. But I can listen. And so, if you are young, you're dealing with this, or, you think something's going on, go get scanned, go get checked. Especially for the younger generation from the, I think it's 32 to 42 age range or whatever over the last 5 years, cancer numbers are going through the roof for the younger generation. So if something's not right, get it checked out. Talk to your doctor, talk to your medical teams. Most likely you're going to be fine. I'm not saying it's not like 100% of people are getting cancer or anything. The numbers are going up. You owe it to yourself to get checked. One of the struggles for me is my insurance company didn't want to cover my colonoscopy, the first one, because I was so young. They're like, well, it's not preventative because you're not old enough yet. And so, that's one thing to advocate for yourself, do whatever you need to do to get, seen and that type of stuff. But take the time to get it checked out if you think you need to.
And not getting checked out is not going to change whether you have cancer or not.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's the thing. At the end of the day, if you've got it, it's there. You're better off just to figure out about it and come up with a game plan.
And one of the reasons that, just obviously with Josh being a co-host, I think it's important just to let everybody know what's happening. But another reason that we kind of wanted to talk about this is exactly the point that you were making, Josh, where it's like, do I share this publicly? Are people going to not want to bother me? I.e., not, is my livelihood going to disappear because people don't want to bother me for real estate or whatever? And again, luckily you don't rely on that, but a lot of agents struggle with this. I didn't share my divorce for the longest time because I didn't want people to oh, I don't want to bother her. I need that more than ever. Please do bother me.
Yeah.
And it's so weird that in this industry that we're in an industry where we know we want the work, but then outsiders, the consumers, look at it like bothering us, and they don't think of it like that. Like they're giving us the business. They don't think of it like that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to use what little our platform is right now, and hopefully as it grows to educate the public. Even if consumers end up listening to the show and you want to support your favorite real estate agent, you are not bothering them when you ask that. Even if you're moving out of the area, you are not bothering them. They want to hook you up with a referral. So, yeah. Do you have anything to cough about before we
No.
end the episode?
Yeah. Talk about a good time to have a tickle in your throat or something.
Um, it reminds me, like, I'll never forget, I think I was in a bar or something, and back in the Marines and saw this, like, super hot guy, and I was, like, waiting for him to, like, approach me all night, and he finally does, and I wrong piped when I took a sip of my cocktail. I fucking wrong piped it, like the one of the worst in my entire life. Like like I mean, he had, like, long ago walked away. I'm
Yeah.
still, like, coughing, doing the just one more second. I'm pretty sure it came out my nose at one point. I mean, it was just terrible. So, it happens to the best of us, Joshy.
I'm okay. I'm gonna make it, I promise. I'll be here for future episodes.
All right, sounds good. Well, let's wrap it up then. It was great to cover down on some news topics. It was great to, openly discuss Josh's situation and then also get some tips on how he chose to handle it with a separate social media account. And I think it'll be neat to like follow your journey as we continue with this. So, that's all we've got for now. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We've got special guest Emily Wynn on. So we'll see you tomorrow.